Welcome, dear listener, to a gentle journey through time and literature designed to accompany you into the realm of restful sleep. Tonight, we embark on an immersive exploration of Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy, a masterpiece that stands as a towering monument in the landscape of human thought and artistry. Imagine a cool, quiet evening, the soft glow of a lamp casting long shadows as we drift back to the bustling, intricate world of medieval Italy. A world far removed from our own, yet one that speaks to timeless human experiences. The Divine Comedy is not merely a poem. It is an ambitious, spiritual odyssey, a comprehensive vision of the afterlife as conceived by a profound and passionate mind. Written in the early 14th century, it guides its protagonist, Dante himself, through the terrifying depths of hell, the arduous ascent of purgatory, and finally, into the blinding, ecstatic light of paradise. This epic poem, often considered the greatest literary work in the Italian language, weaves together theology, philosophy, classical mythology, and contemporary politics into a narrative tapestry of unparalleled richness. As we gently unravel its threads, we will not only encounter the poem's profound themes, but also the historical context that breathed life into its every line. Think of our journey tonight as a calm and measured stroll through a vast, illuminated manuscript. Each word, each image is designed to soothe your mind while subtly enriching your understanding. We will explore the circumstances that led Dante to compose such an extraordinary work, understanding how the turbulent political climate of Florence, his personal exiles, and his deep spiritual convictions converged to shape this monumental undertaking. We will glimpse the daily life of medieval Italians, the intellectual currents that flowed through universities and monasteries, and the profound influence of the Catholic Church, which served as both a guide and a complex political player in Dante's era. Consider the very act of writing such a poem. In an age before mass media, before instant communication, the Divine Comedy emerged from a world where knowledge was often handwritten, meticulously copied, and shared among a learned elite. Yet, Dante chose to write his epic not in Latin, the language of scholars and the Church, but in the vernacular Tuscan dialect, a revolutionary decision that helped to solidify Italian as a literary language. This was an act of profound foresight, democratizing knowledge and opening the doors of his intricate vision to a wider audience, a testament to his belief in the accessibility of divine truth. As we move through the poem's structure, Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, we will encounter a vibrant cast of characters, both historical and mythical, allegorical and intensely human. From the tormented souls of the damned to the striving spirits of the repentant and the beatified souls in eternal bliss, each figure serves a purpose, reflecting aspects of human nature, sin, virtue, and divine justice. We will learn about the theological frameworks that underpin each realm, the philosophical debates that inform Dante's worldview, and the classical literary traditions that he so masterfully reinterpreted. The beauty of the Divine Comedy lies not only in its grand theological sweep, but also in its minute, vivid details. Dante was a keen observer of the human condition, capable of rendering both the horrific and the sublime with astonishing precision. His descriptions of landscapes, from the desolate circles of hell to the verdant terraces of purgatory and the effulgent light of paradise, are rendered with an evocative power that transports the reader directly into his vision. Our aim tonight is to gently immerse you in these descriptions, allowing your mind to wander through these ancient, imagined worlds as you prepare for a peaceful night's rest. We will also touch upon the enduring legacy of the Divine Comedy. How did this complex poem, written centuries ago, continue to resonate with readers and artists throughout history? Its influence can be seen in countless works of art, literature, music, and even modern popular culture. From the early Renaissance painters who first illustrated Dante's visions to contemporary writers and filmmakers, the power of Dante's imagination continues to inspire and challenge. Its universal themes of sin, repentance, redemption, and the ultimate quest for understanding resonate deeply with the human experience across all ages. So, as the world outside settles into quiet, let your mind relax and your breath deepen. Allow the gentle rhythm of our narrative to guide you through the intricate layers of this literary masterpiece. We will navigate the profound depths and soaring heights of the Divine Comedy with a tranquil pace, ensuring that your journey is one of both gentle education and peaceful serenity. Prepare to fall asleep to the entire history of one of humanity's most magnificent artistic achievements, allowing its echoes to guide you into a restorative slumber. As we continue our serene journey, let us gently immerse ourselves in the tumultuous world that forged Dante Alighieri, and by extension, his monumental work, The Divine Comedy. Imagine Florence in the late 13th century, not as the tranquil city of art we often envision today, but as a vibrant, often violent crucible of commerce, politics, and fervent belief. This was a city-state, not a quiet backwater, but a dynamic hub of trade, banking, and cultural innovation, all simmering with intense factionalism. Understanding this historical backdrop is key to appreciating the depth and urgency of Dante's vision. Dante was born in Florence in 1265, a time when the city was experiencing a period of immense growth and prosperity, but also profound political instability. The dominant political struggle was between two main factions, the Guelphs and the Ghibellines. The Ghibellines generally supported the Holy Roman Emperor, viewing him as a strong, unifying force for Italy, while the Guelphs championed the power of the Pope, often seeing him as a protector of local liberties against imperial ambitions. This wasn't just a philosophical debate. It was a brutal, often bloody conflict that saw families exiled, property confiscated, and power constantly shifting hands. Dante's family, the Alighieri, were staunch Guelphs, and this allegiance would profoundly shape his life. Within the Guelph faction itself, further divisions emerged. By the late 1200s, the Florentine Guelphs had split into two new groups, the White Guelphs and the Black Guelphs. The White Guelphs, including Dante, favored greater autonomy for Florence and were suspicious of papal interference in Florentine affairs. The Black Guelphs, on the other hand, sought closer ties with the papacy, often for their own political and economic gain. This internal strife became particularly acute around the turn of the 14th century, setting the stage for Dante's personal tragedy. Dante was not merely an observer of this political turmoil, he was an active participant. He held several important public offices in Florence, culminating in his election as one of the 6 priors in 1300. This was a position of immense responsibility, essentially governing the city for a 2-month term. During his priorate, Dante and his fellow priors, attempting to maintain peace, took the difficult step of exiling leaders from both the Black and White Guelph factions, including some of Dante's own friends and relatives. This decision, intended to stabilize the city, ultimately backfired. The political tides turned swiftly and brutally. Pope Boniface VIII, a powerful and politically ambitious pontiff, intervened in Florentine affairs, ostensibly to mediate, but in reality to support the Black Guelphs. In 1301, while Dante was on a diplomatic mission to Rome, the Black Guelphs, with papal backing, seized control of Florence. A new government was established, and Dante, along with many other White Guelphs, was condemned. He was accused of corruption, malfeasance, and opposition to the Pope. The penalty was severe: a heavy fine, perpetual exile, and a death sentence if he ever returned to Florence. This exile, which began in 1302 and lasted for the rest of his life, was a profoundly transformative experience for Dante. It stripped him of his home, his political career, and his social standing. Forced to wander from court to court across Italy, dependent on the hospitality of various noble families, Dante experienced firsthand the bitterness of eating the bread of strangers. This period of profound personal suffering and rootlessness, however, also granted him a unique perspective. It allowed him to view Florence and the political landscape of Italy with a critical, yet deeply melancholic detachment. It was during this forced wandering that he began to compose the Divine Comedy. Beyond the immediate political struggles, the intellectual and spiritual climate of the High Middle Ages also deeply influenced Dante. The 13th century had been a period of immense intellectual ferment, with the rise of universities and the flourishing of scholastic philosophy. Thinkers like Thomas Aquinas had synthesized Aristotelian philosophy with Christian theology, creating a comprehensive system of thought that sought to reconcile faith and reason. Dante, deeply learned in theology, philosophy, and classical literature, absorbed these currents. His poem is a testament to this intellectual synthesis, grappling with questions of sin, free will, divine justice, and the nature of God, all within a meticulously structured theological framework. The Catholic Church, omnipresent and omnipotent, permeated every aspect of medieval life. Its rituals, its teachings, its calendar, its saints, all provided the rhythm and meaning of existence for the vast majority of Europeans. For Dante, a devout Catholic, the Church represented the pathway to salvation, yet he was also acutely aware of its temporal corruption, particularly the political machinations of the papacy. This tension between the sacred ideal of the Church and its flawed human embodiment is a recurring theme in the Divine Comedy, particularly as he encounters various popes in hell and purgatory. Consider, too, the rich tapestry of classical literature that was still very much alive in the medieval imagination, often through Latin manuscripts preserved in monasteries. Virgil, the Roman poet of the Aeneid, was revered as a prophet of the coming Christian age and a master of epic poetry. Dante's choice of Virgil as his guide through hell and purgatory is no accident. It is a profound nod to the continuity of classical wisdom within a Christian worldview, reflecting a deep respect for the intellectual heritage of antiquity. Other classical figures and myths also populate his poem, woven seamlessly into his Christian cosmology. The daily life in a city like Florence was a constant interplay of the sacred and the profane. Church bells punctuated the day, marking hours of prayer. Guilds, powerful associations of craftsmen and merchants, regulated trades and provided social welfare. Family honor was paramount, and feuds could last for generations. Disease was a constant threat, and life for many was short and arduous. Yet, amidst these challenges, there was a profound sense of community, a vibrant spiritual life, and a burgeoning artistic energy that would soon explode into the Renaissance. Dante lived at the cusp of this transformation, embodying both the medieval worldview and the nascent stirrings of a new humanism. As we drift deeper into this historical setting, imagine the sounds and sights. The clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the cries of street vendors, the murmur of prayers from a nearby church, the rustle of scholarly robes in a university courtyard, the distant echo of political unrest. This was the vibrant, chaotic, deeply spiritual, and intensely human world from which the Divine Comedy emerged. It was a world that tested Dante's faith, challenged his intellect, and ultimately compelled him to create a work of enduring truth and beauty, a journey of the soul that resonates still today. This profound personal and political upheaval, woven into the fabric of his time, became the very crucible in which his poetic genius was forged, giving the comedy its raw power and timeless relevance. Now, with the echoes of medieval Florence still gently fading, let us descend into the very heart of Dante's monumental vision, the Inferno. Imagine a vast, funnel-shaped chasm plunging deep beneath the earth, its concentric circles growing ever narrower and more terrifying as we journey towards the center. This is Dante's meticulously conceived hell, a place of divine justice where the punishment perfectly fits the sin, a concept known as contrapasso. As we accompany Dante and his guide, the venerable Roman poet Virgil, our descent is not merely a geographic one, but a profound exploration of sin, morality, and the human condition. Our journey begins at the very entrance, where the indecisive, those who lived without either praise or blame, forever chase a meaningless banner, stung by wasps and flies. This liminal space sets the tone. Even neutrality in Dante's stark moral universe warrants a form of eternal, frustrated agony. From there, we cross the Acheron River, ferried by the grim Charon, whose eyes glow like embers. The sounds here are of wailing and gnashing of teeth, a cacophony of eternal despair that immediately immerses us in the horror of this realm. The first true circle of hell is limbo, a place for the virtuous pagans, those who lived good lives but were born before Christ or died unbaptized. Here, we find the likes of Homer, Horace, Ovid, and Lucan, surrounded by a gentle, mournful sigh, unpunished by torment, but forever deprived of the light of God. This circle is distinct in its lack of physical suffering, yet the profound sorrow of eternal separation from God is itself a chilling form of pain. Dante, ever the respectful intellectual, portrays these figures with dignity, acknowledging their greatness even in their spiritual limitation. As we move deeper, guided by Virgil, we encounter the lustful, whirled endlessly by tempestuous winds, never to find peace. Their sin was to abandon reason for passion, and thus their punishment reflects this lack of control. Here we see famous lovers like Paolo and Francesca, their tragic tale a poignant reminder of love perverted. Next are the gluttonous, condemned to lie in a vile, icy slush battered by perpetual rain and hail, overseen by the three-headed dog Cerberus. Their indulgence in earthly pleasures is met with a disgusting sensory deprivation. The fourth circle houses the avaricious and the prodigal, those who hoarded and those who squandered, forever pushing great weights against each other, clashing in eternal frustration. Their lack of moderation, whether in excess or deficiency, condemns them to endless, fruitless toil. The fifth circle is the murky, stagnant waters of the Styx, where the wrathful fight each other eternally, consumed by their own rage, while the sullen lies submerged beneath the mire, gurgling their sorrow. Beyond the Styx, we encounter the fortified city of Dis, a formidable barrier separating upper hell from lower hell, where more grievous sins are punished. Here, the heresiarchs lie in flaming tombs, their heresy a denial of immortality, now faced with eternal death. As we pass through, the air grows heavier, the sights more grotesque. Lower hell is divided into three main sections, corresponding to sins of violence, fraud, and treachery. The seventh circle is for the violent, divided into three rings. The violent against neighbors, tyrants, murderers, are immersed in a river of boiling blood, guarded by centaurs. The violent against themselves, suicides, are transformed into gnarled trees, their leaves devoured by harpies, only able to speak when wounded. The violent against God, art, and nature, blasphemers, sodomites, usurers, suffer under a perpetual rain of fire on a burning plain. The eighth circle, Malabulge, evil pouches, is perhaps the most intricate and inventive of Dante's hell. It consists of 10 concentric ditches, each punishing a specific type of fraud. Here, Dante unleashes his fiercest condemnation for those who betray trust and deceive others. We find panderers and seducers scourged by demons, flatterers submerged in excrement, simoniacs stuck headfirst in holes with their feet aflame, twisting in agony, sorcerers and false prophets, their heads twisted backward, forever looking behind them. Corrupt officials, baritors, plunged into boiling pitch, guarded by demons. Hypocrites, wearing gilded lead cloaks, appearing outwardly beautiful but inwardly weighted down. Thieves, transformed into serpents and exchanging forms with them in a horrifying, endless cycle. Evil counselors, enveloped in flames, their cunning words now burning their bodies. Sowers of discord, perpetually mutilated and dismembered, their bodies torn apart like the societies they ripped asunder. Falsifiers, alchemists, perjurers, counterfeiters, afflicted with loathsome diseases and thirst. The sheer variety of punishments in Malabulge underscores Dante's belief in the insidious nature of fraud and its many manifestations. Each contrapasso is exquisitely detailed, designed to evoke revulsion and moral clarity. Finally, we reach the ninth and deepest circle of hell, Cocytus, a frozen lake where the treacherous are eternally encased in ice. This final realm is reserved for those who betrayed those to whom they had special bonds of trust. It is divided into 4 concentric rounds. Cana, for treachery against kin, named after Cain. Antenora, for treachery against country or party, named after Antenor of Troy. Ptolemaea, for treachery against guests, named after Ptolemy, who murdered his father-in-law. Judeca, for treachery against benefactors, named after Judas Iscariot. At the very center of Cocytus, at the precise midpoint of the earth, is Lucifer himself, the ultimate betrayer, frozen from the waist down in the ice. He has 3 faces, each gnawing on one of history's greatest traitors: Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ, and Brutus and Cassius, who betrayed Julius Caesar. This chilling image of the immobile, impotent Satan, constantly weeping from his 6 eyes, epitomizes the ultimate consequence of turning away from divine love. His own tears freeze, contributing to the ice that imprisons him. The journey through the inferno is not merely a catalog of sins and punishments. It is a profound moral education for Dante and for us. Through the vivid, often harrowing imagery, Dante forces us to confront the consequences of human choices. The emotional impact of witnessing these torments, and Dante's reactions to them, sometimes pity, sometimes righteous anger, serves to deepen our understanding of his own spiritual transformation. The Inferno is a grim, unforgettable landscape, yet it is a necessary first step on the path towards purification and ultimately salvation. As we gently withdraw from these dark realms, let the quiet stillness wash over you, preparing your mind for the hopeful ascent that awaits in our next chapter. Having traversed the harrowing depths of the inferno, where the chilling consequences of unrepentant sin unfolded before us, we now begin a hopeful and arduous ascent. Imagine emerging from the dark, confined spaces of hell into the first faint glimmer of dawn, a sense of quiet expectation filling the air. This is the transition to Purgatorio, Dante's second realm of the afterlife, a majestic mountain rising from the middle of the ocean, a place of purification and penitence where souls labor to cleanse themselves before entering paradise. The concept of purgatory, though widely accepted in medieval Catholic theology, offered a profound contrast to the eternal finality of hell. It was a place of hope where suffering had a redemptive purpose, a temporary state of cleansing for those who died repentant but still bearing the stain of sin. For Dante, this mountain represented the journey of the soul back towards God, a process of shedding earthly attachments and vices. Our arrival on the shores of Purgatory is marked by a profound change in atmosphere. The air is fresh and sweet, the light is gentle, and a sense of quiet reverence pervades the landscape. Here, Dante and Virgil encounter Cato of Utica, a stoic pagan guardian who instructs them on the rituals of entry, cleansing Dante's face of the grime of hell and girding him with a rush, symbolizing humility. This immediate emphasis on cleansing and humility sets the tone for the entire journey through Purgatory. The mountain itself is divided into an ante-purgatory and 7 terraces, each corresponding to one of the 7 deadly sins. But here, they are understood as perversions of love. Instead of being eternally condemned for these sins, the penitents actively purge themselves of them through specific, symbolic punishments. Unlike the immutable torments of hell, the sufferings in purgatory are temporary, self-imposed, and filled with a longing for God. The journey up the mountain is arduous, yet each step upwards brings the souls closer to beatitude, marked by a growing lightness and joy. Let us explore these terraces, understanding the sins they address and the forms of penitence undertaken. The ante-purgatory is for those who delayed repentance, such as the excommunicated, the negligent, and those who repented at the last moment. They must wait for a period, often many years, before they can begin their ascent of the true purgatory. Here, we encounter souls who died violently but repented, and those who neglected their spiritual duties. The delay in their purification underscores the importance of timely repentance. The first terrace of purgatory proper is for the proud. Their punishment involves carrying massive weights on their backs, forcing them to walk stooped and humble, seeing carved examples of humility on the path and prideful examples below them. This physical burden directly counteracts their former arrogance, compelling them to look downward in submission. Next, we ascend to the terrace of the envious. Here, their eyelids are sewn shut with iron wire, mirroring their earthly sin of looking with malice upon others' good fortune. They hear voices proclaiming examples of generosity and envy, urging them to open their spiritual eyes to charity. The third terrace purifies the wrathful. They are enveloped in thick, acrid smoke, blinding them and symbolizing the clouded judgment brought by anger. Within this darkness, they hear visions of meekness and wrath, reminding them of the serenity they forfeited. Ascending further, we reach the terrace of the slothful. These souls are forced to run perpetually, driven by an intense desire to make up for their earthly lethargy. They call out examples of zeal and diligence, spurring themselves to overcome their past inaction. The fifth terrace is for the avaricious and the prodigal, those who excessively loved or scorned material wealth. They lie prostrate on the ground, face down, with their hands and feet bound, expressing the earth-bound nature of their desires. They recite examples of poverty and generosity, seeking spiritual liberation from worldly goods. On the sixth terrace, we find the gluttonous. Here, the souls are painfully emaciated, though surrounded by tempting fruit trees and clear streams. They suffer from agonizing hunger and thirst, a contrapasso for their overindulgence, as they strive to desire only spiritual sustenance. Finally, the seventh and highest terrace of purgatory is for the lustful. These souls walk through purifying flames, purging themselves of excessive carnal desire. They call out examples of chastity and sexual transgression, burning away the impurity of their past passions. Throughout the ascent, at the end of each terrace, an angel appears, erasing one of the 7 P's, peccata, meaning sins, from Dante's forehead, symbolizing the progressive purification of his soul. The journey is also punctuated by beautiful and symbolic imagery, divine visions, sweet music, and profound theological discussions. Virgil, as a pagan, can guide Dante through the human reason and morality of purgatory, but he cannot enter the earthly paradise or the celestial realms beyond. At the summit of purgatory is the earthly paradise, the Garden of Eden, a place of pristine innocence and beauty, representing humanity's original sinless state before the fall. Here, a momentous event occurs. Virgil departs, having completed his role as Dante's guide. This farewell is poignant, acknowledging the limits of human reason in the face of divine revelation. It is here in the earthly paradise that Dante encounters Beatrice, his true spiritual guide. Beatrice, who represents divine love, theology, and grace, chastises Dante for his past straying from virtue after her death, leading him to a profound moment of confession and repentance. She then takes over as his guide for the final ascent into paradise. This transition from Virgil to Beatrice symbolizes the necessary shift from human reason to divine revelation as one approaches the ultimate truth of God. The structure of purgatory emphasizes a crucial aspect of Dante's theology, the redemptive power of suffering when embraced with true contrition and hope. Unlike the eternal despair of hell, every soul in purgatory is destined for paradise, their suffering a necessary means to an end, a purification that allows them to experience true joy. The atmosphere, though demanding, is ultimately one of burgeoning hope and growing spiritual lightness, a stark contrast to the oppressive gloom of the inferno. As the quiet light of dawn now fully illuminates this sacred mountain, let your mind rest on the idea of purpose-driven struggle, of effort leading to ultimate liberation. The arduous climb of purgatory, with its measured steps and profound transformations, offers a gentle yet powerful metaphor for growth and spiritual renewal. Allow these images of purification and ascent to guide you towards a profound and peaceful sleep, as we prepare for the ultimate journey in our next chapter. From the cleansing slopes of purgatory, where the soul sheds its earthly impurities, we now embark upon the most sublime and ethereal part of Dante's celestial journey, Paradiso. Imagine rising beyond the earthly paradise, leaving behind the terrestrial sphere entirely, and ascending through the 9 concentric celestial spheres of heaven, each more brilliant, more harmonious, and more suffused with the light of God than the last. Here, Beatrice, representing divine revelation, theology, and grace, takes over as Dante's guide, for human reason alone, embodied by Virgil, cannot ascend to the ultimate truths of the divine. The structure of Dante's paradise is based on the Ptolemaic model of the universe, with Earth at the center, surrounded by revolving spheres. Each sphere is associated with a specific planet and, more importantly, with a particular virtue or form of beatitude, housing souls who embody that virtue. Though all souls in paradise exist in the presence of God, merely appearing in different spheres to signify varying degrees of glory. The journey through paradise is less about active purification and more about increasing intellectual and spiritual understanding, a gradual enlightenment as Dante draws nearer to the Empyrean, the abode of God. Our ascent begins in the first sphere, the moon. This sphere is associated with inconstancy, or souls who, due to broken vows, were less steadfast in their earthly will. Here, Dante meets Piccarda Donati, a nun forcibly removed from her convent, whose serenity despite her broken vows illustrates that true happiness lies in conforming to God's will, whatever one's earthly circumstances. The moon's mottled appearance is explained through complex philosophical discourse, foreshadowing the intellectual depth of this realm. Next, we rise to the sphere of Mercury, associated with those who sought honor and glory on earth, but whose righteous actions were motivated in part by earthly ambition. The souls here shine with a brilliant, swift light, reflecting their active but imperfect love for God. Emperor Justinian, the Roman legislator, appears here, discoursing on the history of the Roman Empire and the divine providence behind its rise. The third sphere is Venus, home to the lovers, those whose earthly love was intense but ultimately guided towards divine love. The souls here swirl in joyful, vibrant light, like stars within the star. Caniza da Romano and Folquet de Marseille, once figures of earthly passion, now radiate with celestial love, illustrating how earthly desires, when properly directed, can lead to spiritual heights. Ascending to the fourth sphere, the sun, we enter a realm of profound intellectual and spiritual light. This sphere is dedicated to the wise, the great theologians and philosophers who illuminated the world with their knowledge. Here, Dante encounters two magnificent circles of 12 radiant spirits each, led by Thomas Aquinas and Bonaventure. These discussions delve into intricate theological concepts, from the nature of divine light to the complexities of the Franciscan and Dominican orders, showcasing Dante's immense learning and his desire to reconcile philosophical inquiry with faith. The fifth sphere, Mars, is the sphere of the holy warriors, those who fought for the faith. The souls here form a luminous cross, a symbolic representation of Christ's triumph. Here, Dante speaks with his ancestor, Cacciaguida, a crusader, who prophesies Dante's exile and provides a poignant glimpse into the idealized older Florence. This personal encounter grounds the celestial journey in Dante's earthly reality, reinforcing the idea that even in heaven, family and historical ties hold meaning. We continue our ascent to the sixth sphere, Jupiter, the sphere of the just rulers. The souls here arrange themselves into the shape of a mighty eagle, symbolizing divine justice and imperial power. The eagle then speaks with a single voice, condemning corrupt rulers and illustrating the profound principles of divine judgment and righteousness. This vision emphasizes Dante's belief in the necessity of just governance for human flourishing. The seventh sphere, Saturn, is the sphere of the contemplatives, those who devoted their lives to meditation and asceticism. These souls form a golden ladder that stretches endlessly upwards, symbolizing spiritual ascent and the renunciation of worldly desires. Here, Dante encounters Peter, Damian, and Benedict, who discuss the corruption of the monastic orders and the importance of humility. The silence in this sphere, broken only by a soft, harmonious melody, signifies profound spiritual peace. Beyond the planetary spheres lies the sphere of the fixed stars, the eighth sphere, which contains the constellations and serves as a kind of celestial observatory. Here, Dante sees the triumphs of Christ and the Virgin Mary, along with the apostles Peter, James, and John. These figures test Dante on the three theological virtues: faith, hope, and charity. His successful answers demonstrate his spiritual readiness for the ultimate vision of God. This sphere is a place of profound revelation, where Dante witnesses the universal church in its heavenly glory. The ninth sphere is the primum mobile, the outermost sphere of the physical universe, which imparts motion to all the lower spheres. Here, Dante sees the angelic hierarchies, arranged in 9 concentric rings around a single intensely bright point of light: God. The faster the angels revolve, the closer they are to God, reflecting their greater understanding and love. This sphere marks the boundary between the material universe and the pure spiritual realm. Finally, Dante ascends beyond the material heavens into the Empyrean, a realm of pure light outside of time and space, where God resides. Here, he sees the celestial rose, a vast circular amphitheater formed by millions of beatified souls, arranged in petaled rows, each radiating with divine light. At the center of this rose is the Virgin Mary, surrounded by angels. Dante's ultimate vision in the Empyrean is of the Holy Trinity, a profound, inexpressible encounter with God himself. He describes God as 3 circles of equal size, yet distinct, one reflecting the other, and the third emanating from the first 2. In this climactic moment, he glimpses the ineffable mystery of the Incarnation, seeing the human form within one of the divine circles. This vision surpasses all human language and understanding, bringing Dante to a state of complete spiritual fulfillment. His will and desire are now aligned perfectly with the divine will, moved by the love that moves the sun and the other stars. The journey through Paradiso is a testament to the power of divine love and grace. It is a realm not of suffering, but of increasing joy, light, and understanding. Each encounter, each theological discussion, each vision serves to draw Dante closer to the ultimate truth, culminating in a direct, if fleeting, experience of the divine. As we gently withdraw from these dazzling heights, let the profound peace and radiant light of this celestial vision envelop you, guiding you into a deep and serene sleep. The ultimate joy of reunion, of finding one's place in the divine order, is a comforting thought to carry into the stillness of the night. As our celestial journey through the radiant spheres of paradise gently concludes, let us now reflect upon the enduring and profound legacy of Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. Imagine the echoes of celestial harmony still resonating, and the gentle light of divine understanding softly illuminating the path ahead. This epic poem, conceived in exile and born from profound personal and spiritual torment, did not simply remain a relic of its time. It became a wellspring of inspiration, shaping literature, art, philosophy, and even language itself for centuries to come. One of the most immediate and significant impacts of the Divine Comedy was its role in the development of the Italian language. By choosing to write his epic in the vernacular Tuscan dialect rather than in Latin, the customary language for serious literary works, Dante elevated the common tongue to a level of unprecedented poetic and intellectual sophistication. This decision was revolutionary. It demonstrated the expressive power of Italian and laid the foundation for it to become the national literary language, influencing subsequent literary giants like Petrarch and Boccaccio. Without Dante, the Italian language as we know it might have taken a very different path, or at least a much longer one, to achieve its rich literary standing. Beyond language, the comedy's narrative structure and vivid imagery became a template for artistic representation of the afterlife and human experience. Early Renaissance artists, fascinated by Dante's detailed descriptions of hell, purgatory, and paradise, found a rich source of inspiration. Painters like Sandro Botticelli meticulously illustrated the entire Divine Comedy, bringing Dante's visions to life on parchment. Later, artists like William Blake and Gustave Doré created iconic series of engravings that continue to define our visual understanding of Dante's realms, each image steeped in the poem's powerful symbolism. Even today, echoes of Dante's Inferno can be seen in film, video games, and popular culture, a testament to the enduring power of his imagination. The theological and philosophical depth of the Divine Comedy also had a lasting impact. Dante synthesized vast amounts of medieval thought, from scholastic theology to classical philosophy, into a cohesive and compelling narrative. His detailed cosmology, his exploration of free will, divine justice, and the nature of sin and redemption provided a profound meditation on the human condition that continued to be studied and debated for generations. The poem served as a kind of theological encyclopedia in verse, offering a comprehensive overview of Christian doctrine accessible to a wider audience. Scholars and theologians continued to engage with Dante's interpretations, often using his work as a touchstone for their own inquiries. Moreover, the Divine Comedy profoundly influenced later literary traditions, not just in Italy, but across Europe and beyond. Its unique blend of personal narrative, allegorical journey, and universal themes resonated deeply with writers. From the English romantics like John Milton, whose Paradise Lost bears a clear thematic kinship, to later poets like T.S. Eliot, who frequently referenced Dante, the comedy's presence in the literary canon is undeniable. It established a model for the epic poem that explored not just external events, but the internal landscape of the soul, grappling with profound spiritual and existential questions. Its influence can be seen in the very concept of a comprehensive, symbolic journey through a richly imagined spiritual realm. The poem's enduring appeal also lies in its universal themes. While rooted in specific medieval Florentine politics and Catholic theology, its core concerns, sin, repentance, redemption, the quest for meaning, the nature of good and evil, and the ultimate search for divine love, are timeless. Every human being, regardless of their background or belief system, can find something to connect with in Dante's grand narrative of a soul striving for understanding and ultimate peace. The vivid portrayal of human flaws and virtues, the agony of separation from God, and the bliss of ultimate reunion speak to the deepest aspirations and anxieties of the human heart. Consider, too, the sheer ambition and courage of Dante's undertaking. To embark on a poem of this scope, encompassing the entire afterlife, critiquing popes and emperors, and synthesizing vast knowledge, was an act of immense intellectual daring. His unflinching honesty in portraying the corruption he saw in his own time, even placing contemporary figures, including popes, in hell, demonstrated a moral conviction that resonated with many, and continues to challenge readers to confront their own moral landscapes. In essence, The Divine Comedy is not just a historical document, it is a living text that continues to inspire and provoke. Its layered meanings invite endless interpretation, its linguistic artistry delights, and its spiritual journey offers both challenge and solace. As centuries unfolded, the comedy transitioned from a medieval text to a foundational work of the Renaissance, and then to a cherished masterpiece of world literature, forever solidifying Dante's place as one of the greatest poets of all time. Its capacity to blend the intensely personal with the universally profound is what has secured its immortal status. As we conclude our gentle exploration of the Divine Comedy, let the echoes of this extraordinary journey softly fade into the quiet of your surroundings. May the wisdom, beauty, and enduring hope woven into Dante's masterpiece accompany you now into a profound and restorative sleep. Sweet dreams.